and that'll be
Like,
so.
and yeah, the reconstruction is going to have sort of impacts too. So by the time you add those two together, that's a pretty big one, because that's going to be they said it's up to a 90-day closure. And so, you know, we did the PD one.
Yeah.
And so we talked about, like, you know, up to a 90-day closure on that side, plus this one in the south. It's like, you know, someone made a joke that, well, you could just don't go anywhere unless you're going east to west. And I said, oh, by the way, Pioneer Trail is going to have reconstruction too, or having resurfacing. So we have to kind of get our.
It's Pioneer in Bavaria. The roundabout there will be, if you've ever driven it, you drive like this on it as you go around the roundabout. So that's going to get fixed this summer too.
Which is really good. It's well overdue. So for us, it's about communications and making this easier for residents to digest, because there's a lot of it, and the groups, like, we're all ear deep into it, but residents aren't. So I think they're just looking for, like, how do I get to work? What's closed when, right? So we just need to make it more concise. So that's kind of the big thing that's been top of mind.
So do you think Kevin will kind of do a weekly recap of this, that we don't typically share stuff outside of downtown Chaska, but I think this would be a time.
Yeah, so Kevin's currently out of the country. So when he gets back, I have a meeting on his calendar when I sit down and talk about this, and we can then help get you information that you can disseminate out. Because as we've learned, I mean, I think we knew that, but when we met with the business owners in the North Industrial Park this week, they're like, oh, well, we have, you know, staff that's coming from across the river. So making sure they know what's going on. And I'm sure there are folks that are coming down, you know, to downtown. So how do we make sure this all fits together?
And I'm guessing you probably have, like, you know, customers, employees that come from the north side of town. So that would be something that presumably downtown Chaska would be, you know, people in downtown Chaska be interested in at some point. So this, like you said, it's not normally you're, you know, there, you communicate, but this year is kind of an exception in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, I think the more we do together just to push content out there, the less frustration there'll be and the less surprises.
Other city stuff, if you were done. The City Square West, we're still working, you know, legislature's in session, working to get into the bonding bill. There's been a lot of back and forth, so I don't have any really updates, but we continue to work on what that means. There's some rumblings about stuff at GA. We have a meeting set up just to learn more. So
For the apartment.
for the old school area. I don't know what it is. There's been some rumblings and a meeting about that. And then on Monday night, the council voted to engage an architect for the public safety facility. So we are moving forward on that building facility side, which means in, I don't know, 2 years or so, the police department will be out of downtown and up on the hill then. And then after that will be our municipal services building, which we'll do. And then after that would be the library, should the council continue to move forward with that program. So it'll be a long time, but you'll see some changes in downtown, at least with the police. That's confirmed. I don't think there's anything else. It's been, I don't want to say quiet because that's not the right word.
A couple just real quick updates to add in as it relates to downtown stuff. Kevin Norby has sold his building. So there's a new owner there. And Mike Webb has tendered his notice to terminate his lease effective May 1 over there. It's my understanding, although I haven't talked to these people, that their intention is to keep that a coffee shop. But my guess is the transition may not be completely smooth because Mike's kind of unhappy about his situation. So, so that's something people should just be aware of, that there's going to be some change down there.
Do you have any contact information for them?
I do not.
The new building owner came to last Thursday's meeting. I met her briefly.
Oh.
I don't know if she signed in, so I'll have to look back at that.
Will you share your sign-in sheets with me? Because if there's anybody that I'm not seeing in mine, or updated things, that would be helpful. And then I'll see if I can get in touch with that person somehow.
Her name is Amy.
Amy? Okay. And do whatever we can to support them.
Another project that's kind of swirling around in the background, just that people may not be aware of, the Chaska Rotary and the Chaska Lions are working on a project to partner with the city to plant trees. And that will be a community engagement kind of a project for those two service clubs in the city. That is probably an activity that'll happen this spring. So the Lions has put in some money, the Rotary's submitting a grant application to get some more money. And it all could happen fairly quickly. So
Just focused on downtown.
focus on Chaska community parks. So community parks specifically, Lions Park, Athletic Park, there's every place we have ash trees, which is most places, we have issues. So, but especially in community park, because it's like tree lined entryway, 100% ash. And they're all dying. So those, and as I recall, the annual city budget for tree replacement is like 30 trees. We need hundreds. So yeah, just something to be aware of. Nothing we need to do here. I think when it's time for the project, we could share in a communication effort, but.
Do you think, I mean, we were just talking about that CDBA money. Do you think making a small donation to support the parks down here, athletic and do they need help? I guess that.
Well, I'll say, look, maybe we keep our powder dry on that one. And the reason being is we're starting discussions with the DNR that might potentially have a much larger pot of money to really take this a whole nother level. So until we know where that's going, we meet with them in a week or two. So.
I would also say maybe when it comes down to, I mean, the continuation of our trail. Going down every year and things that go along with that, it's kind of a bigger picture. Maybe that's a place for us to look.
Especially once we get our tunnel to connect the trails. So that's maybe the time. I
mean, just even signage and things like that might be additional.
Well, and you had mentioned like the whole water bathroom thing for signs, like maybe there's something we can do that either supports him or keeps them out. I don't know.
Well, Lisa and I had talked about that's in a future, like whatever it is, it's something that we could add to sooner than later, like when there's going to be a trail hub. And so there's a place that people that can use the tunnel can come out and get, have a facility and whatever, and not feel like Chaska Mill is their facility. So.
Sure. Yeah. Is there any update on the church selling their building?
Yay.
No.
Oh, Meadow, thank you. No, haven't heard anything. I did fail to mention that the building center site, the one we've all been kind of waiting for, we're looking at closing before the end of the month on that site. And then they would start construction soon. Well.
And the Formicote that's right next to them is actually building another building or building or?
Yes, they're buying a building in the North Industrial Park to expand their operation. So they'll keep their presence down here, but they'll expand.
More
up there.
manufacturing basically.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's good news. I mean, they're doing well. So
It's great news.
Keeping it within Chaska.
yeah.
Going along with the Dunn Brothers piece, you may have seen that Michael Cycles is leaving.
Oh.
Yes. So they're gonna close this location for a period of time. They did say
Because of the road construction.
they hope to come back, but they'll be out of their Shakopee location for right now.
Shakopee location or just Prior Lake?
Or maybe it's Prior Lake.
Prior Lake.
Yeah. Something over the river.
Prior Lake.
But I think those are the only changes and or known changes. I haven't heard of anything else going on.
We need the road project to be done because that's a big, I mean, it is what it is, but that's exactly what's gonna happen. Like, hopefully they come back, but will they come back? Hopefully Dunn Brothers is an issue, we're just.
Okay, once the road's done, there might be some empty spots, but it'll be an appealing place, particularly with the Paseo stuff in there. And that's
something to
Yeah.
wait for.
Yeah.
We want to try to support those who are here now, right?
Yeah. And the chamber's not represented today, so maybe unless somebody has an update from them.
I know their biggest focus was the, yep, and that breakfast.
First
yeah,
responders.
First responders.
Yep,
Yeah.
end of
Um,
April. I
Oh,
am
yeah.
on the chamber
Go,
board,
go.
but don't put the pressure on me. Yeah, so a big push for the first responders luncheon, which is an excellent cause, and I think they're getting some really good response for it. Hope to continue it every year.
What are you doing with the summer farmers market?
Is a challenge. It's pretty much off the map. I think the city's decided to take over Victoria. Is the last I heard. All the other ones have been pretty successful. It's too bad Autumn's not here because she's the
As
best.
far as Chaska this summer, is there a
It's in
invitation
Fireman's
for
Park.
that or?
Fireman's
Yeah.
Park.
Fireman's Park.
Fireman's Park.
Dan has been traveling the world and
Yeah.
yes,
That's
fireman's
That's right.
And the times will be a little adjusted to accommodate then, or it'll flow into kind of the evening stuff that the Park and Rec department has. So hopefully they can build off of each other.
And we communicate the farmer's market every week anyway, but
Yeah.
because the timing does change based on the events, we'll make sure that that's out well in advance. I think the only thing that you missed for events moving around because of construction is River City Days is not downtown this year.
It's in Lions Park.
See how that goes. That'd probably be just fine, yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be great.
Yes. Okay, well, let's move on then, unless Mel, you had think of anything else, but.
You all just blurt it out.
Okay,
Really.
and maybe we get to the road construction
Yeah,
piece, so
I
I
think-
think start with that.
Do you want to start with your updates and then we can kind of, I think, move into the feedback from the meetings and then kind of what our next steps are?
Certainly. So we had our open house last night and we had a pretty good turnout. I'd say nearly 50 people attended, which was great considering we had snow. At this point, we were sharing the same staging information that we shared at the business open house last week and that we've kind of had set in place now for the past few weeks. We can speak a little bit more to this, Bob, but as of now, the official start date is March 27th, which is the same as what we shared last week. Obviously, there maybe could be a little bit of pushback with weather, but as of now, that's our official start date for the first closure at Walnut. And that will take place for about two,
The Walnut.
Before?
There are things with utilities that are outside of our control, so we're pressing them to fit into our schedule, but they're the ones that are gonna press if anything, and we're looking at like a week at a time. We expect 3 weeks at most, I think, right now. It is a bit of a moving target. It's hard to estimate, and I know that that's not the best answer we continue to give, but there are things that are outside of our control there. Once Walnut North-South is possible, then we're gonna open that up. You'll be able to go east on 61, and then we're gonna start taking 41, that first couple blocks south of 61. That's kind of the next piece. And it's all, I mean, they're like, unless barring a blizzard in the next week and a half, we'll probably still go. We're preparing for things that are not ideal. We're gonna do a westbound 61 lane closure on the outside, on the north side of 61 for ground heaters the weekend prior, just so we can get in there and do our work. So it's kind of miserable to do right now, but we need to go. And I think we need to make sure that everybody understands, like, we need to go, we need to get started. It's just to make sure we can get everything done in a year.
So I guess I wanted to mention that we have our packet of our staging with all the different colors. My intent is once we start, we're just going to focus on one at a time. So when we get to stage one, I'll be creating like specific maps just with, red showing where it's closed, showing access routes, so that we're really taking it month by month or stage by stage, so that it's not as baffling, because when you try to take it in all at once, it's a lot for, I think, residents who aren't fully involved to understand.
I think it'll be similar to how you had the stage on the boards.
Exactly. Yep. Where
Yeah,
it's
that
kind
was
of
really
a
helpful.
snapshot at a time. So when we're in a particular phase, it will just be showing what's closed, where are the access routes, and kind of focus there so that when there's a stage change, we can communicate that 1 to 2 weeks in advance, preview the next map, and then kind of transition to that next stage. And really work on promoting that through socials, the website, walking around with flyers to impacted businesses. So, and we're actually talking about doing pre-construction mailing as well to the downtown area. So that will also hopefully help people who haven't been involved to date understand what's going to be coming up in the next few months. What else?
So speaking of mailings, so something that came out of last month's business meeting was discussion about, you know, some of the current city-owned parking lots and people storing stuff there that shouldn't be there. So we are going to have a mailing separate than the mailing Nicole is talking about, but similar kind of timelines. And I actually have it drafted here. So first we'll be talking about those parking lots and reminding people that the city-owned parking lots, they can only be there for 24 hours. And then they have to move their vehicle. We have not done a good job. Part of its lack of resources of enforcing that. But now we need to. So we're telling people that we will be proactively enforcing that starting May 1st. So you'll see our community service officers and whatnot, you know, looking and making sure. Because I know when I went down to the parking lot between 2nd and 3rd there, I think the same boat was sitting in the same place that I had taken a picture in July. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. So there's that. And then signage, something that was brought up last time was temporary signage and having some more flexibility in downtown about temporary signage. So Nate kind of went back and we looked at it with him. And basically we're gonna allow, typically like sandwich boards are only allowed right in front of your business. We are going to allow those sandwich boards to extend out to Pine and Walnut as well, since that'll be kind of the major, you know, thoroughfares into downtown, particularly those businesses in there, that front 41. As part of that, and I need to add that to the letter here, is we do have signage grants. And so if folks need help paying for those, typically our signage grants have been for permanent signage improvements, but for this case, we'd be happy to, you know, put it as part of that program as well.
And we sent a survey out to the businesses and had 6 businesses respond with a desire to have
Okay.
the sandwich boards. And one business, actually Dolce Vita, said that they need signs to show where to turn for the parking. With the cones out there, it makes it really difficult for customers to know where to enter the parking lot.
People look at those cones and they say, oh, well, you can't get in this way, this side. Well, you can, but it's just a line of cones there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's helpful.
That was the only other note other than people wanting sandwich boards.
So that mailing will go to all business and property owners in the downtown area. And then feel free to share it as need be too.
In addition, we do have our business survey active to help gather some information on deliveries and where customers park. We've had 18 responses to date. We're really hoping to continue to promote that. So Jen, maybe we can work together to get another email out. It is posted to the website, so we want to make sure we're encouraging people to share that information before the major closures start on 41, so we can best accommodate folks. Am I missing anything, Bob,
I
Elise?
think it's big picture, we'll start seeing some of the pre-warned signs coming up as well, kind of on the outskirts of the project area. And as when we are more firm about it, we're gonna start putting the ones kind of a little bit closer to the area, and then like probably a week or so before, we're gonna put up some of those changes right at the closure, enough in advance. So hopefully we catch people on that too.
And I will also mention that once again, if you would like a personalized map showing, you know, how to get to your business or maybe where parking is available, reach out to me. I'm happy to create something. And then if you ever need a printed copy, if maybe your business, you know, digital isn't your thing, totally fine. We can supply some printed copies of that as well.
One of the comments that I did hear was that I heard from one or two people that the QR codes weren't working. It wasn't that they weren't working, but they said it wasn't like their audience didn't know how to use QR codes or whatever, right? So it's they'd like another alternative to the QR codes as well. But that was just passing on that comment.
Yeah, and I actually did bring some of our bigger contact cards. So we have the QR code, the printed website URL. But once again, if you know, people don't want to type in a website either, we can certainly just supply a stack of the current stage handouts as well.
So since the business meeting last week, I know you guys have met, what's happening with the parking situation? And temporary lane closures and anything like that? Has anything progressed with that? Because that was a big deal at the meeting.
Mhm.
And I've heard from a number of people since about it too. So I don't.
I think we're to still start conservatively. And if something is like clear and obvious that, okay, like this is a bit ridiculous, then I think we're happy to move on it. And I think that's going to come with feedback from, you know, folks right there. You and then I forget the gentleman's name. Somebody help me out.
The Tom,
Yes.
he was in the first street.
No. In your building, Krista, the gentleman,
Alex,
perhaps the internet website. Okay, yeah. So he was like pretty understanding of like, well, if I see something and it makes like clear and obvious sense to me, then I asked him, please speak up. So I think it's going to probably go around that route. And then obviously there's other people that we need to get input on from specifically the city, public works, all that kind of thing
yeah,
too.
that's a little confusing to me because, and I think to the general public of the people, because you guys are the experts saying we need it because of safety. So if I'm seeing that, oh, it doesn't seem like there's a safety issue, how do I know what a safety issue is and
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Because it's your issue. So I just know there's a lot of concern. And, you know, yeah, there's just a lot of concern for a couple of things. And I know I had talked to Matt Podrosky about, you know, some different intersection stuff. And he had said that they're looking at possibly having some temporary lights. Is that at all been?
Yeah, at fourth.
So, I mean, some of that information, if we're sending stuff out to residents right now, we probably, I mean, that's the biggest thing. If we're trying to get people down here to park in different places, they need to know where to park and some of those things. So I don't know, maybe it's not done yet. I'm not sure, but before we send out and spend the money to do all the information, it's probably good for us to know exactly. And then going back, I don't know how you determine what's safe and what's not safe.
Yeah.
Because
It's objective. I mean, for sure, it's objective. And that's going to be something that we're gonna have to keep an eye on once we get into that configuration. That's why starting conservatively now is the safe approach. So that right now I'm confident that that is the safe approach.
yeah, I've shared this with both of you guys, but just because you guys are here, I'm really concerned for our downtown business people. Because they're very frustrated already with everything being closed, and now this was not on their radar at all. They were gonna have parking, you know, a block away.
Yeah.
Now people are you know, and I know there's parking, you know, and I appreciate that you're gonna be going in and trying to get people out of the parking lots, and so maybe that's gonna be enough. But it's just I'm sure it's something that as it happens, we're gonna have frustration. I know Terry at Size is really frustrated. And because, you know, not only that, he's like, well, yes, I know people can park on Fifth and at the parking lot, but I'm gonna have a mound of dirt in front of my building and, you know, just things like that. And it is what it is, but just, yeah, that's just frustration. So did they look at it? Did you guys didn't look at the possibility of doing just one side of parking?
We have looked at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, I think still like with the unpredictability of it, excuse me, I think the conservative approach is one that we're happy with right now.
So, and adding to what Krista said, one of the concerns that the resident Tom mentioned is that his concern, because he's a resident off of First Street someplace and over near where Tommy's is. And he said that his concern is that, well, with people parking over there as residents, you're gonna have like cars parked in front of their houses, more people there. And it's like, they're not getting really any, don't feel like they're getting any warning about what's going on. Because he's hearing about it. It's like, oh, great. Now am I gonna be able to get out my driveway, or like, what if I have guests over or things like that? Where are they gonna park?
Sure.
Right, because you're gonna have a lot more daytime parking use. So I think, there's kind of a request buried within that of like getting some information out to residents that this is what's going on, so to expect it.
I think we need to also go out to, if we're sending this out, our businesses clearly don't know that there's not gonna be parking. And so I think we need to go out and say there will not be parking on these streets and put it out there for them so that they can absorb that.
And that's part of these letters that are
Yeah.
going out.
And Greg is also going to be doing some walkarounds as well. So in case people aren't viewing the mailing, then they can get a knock at the door and hopefully have a conversation about it as well.
I think one of your notes, like Michelle from BUL, her one of her concerns, she has a number of patients who are, either have mobility impaired or things like that. So then how, they're not parking 2 blocks away when you can have trouble walking. That's going to be a real big issue.
And I'm trying to work with her
Yeah.
on, but we have some spaces that we can potentially reserve, but when they have 8 people at a time, I don't have that many spaces. So it's, yeah, I mean, I've talked with, we have a whole parking lot and right behind us that's empty every single day and we can't use that. So they will not, I've looked at purchasing rights to it just temporarily, everything, and that they will not let anybody park there. So just so if everybody knows, like, why you have this whole parking spot behind you, no, the building owner will not allow any parking in there. So
Building owners.
Mike Seifert with 501, that whole area. Yeah.
That's great.
They don't want anybody, he wants it always to look like there's parking for if somebody wants to buy his building, that
They
there's
want-
parking. And I mean, okay, I get that, but
That's very
Yeah,
frustrating.
that's super frustrating.
so, yeah, so that would be a great solution for us, for the bar, for everything. But, and so I just want you to know, I've gone there, I've tried to do that and I have not made any headway. So,
Are there currently, I'm not aware, handicap spaces near your building?
I have 1 handicap
Okay.
space. I mean, I only have 8 spaces total anyway, with the way I'm a non-conforming use and whatever. So the way it's set up is just the public parking is the parking.
Because maybe we could look at when those no parking configurations start to like, for sure have a dedicated, maybe 1 or 2 handicap spaces nearby, like you're saying.
I mean, they're on public streets, so that's where it gets to be, I don't have any control of that. And so that's, yeah.
Yeah, and conversely, we don't have control over the private property piece either.
Yep,
Which is,
yeah, so.
So are we ready then to communicate the dates of the no parking, the map of the no parking? Like so we obviously made the assumption prior to last week's meeting that we probably weren't gonna start until March just because. So like I wasn't in a rush to push things out the end of the month like we had planned originally, but now like I've got to restructure the timing of things. And, one of them is just the general emails that we send every week. And obviously this parking thing is a big deal and it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. So we need to get it in front of them. And then Krista and I talked, like you and John probably need to proactively reach out to residents, like Mike said, because there's probably gonna be a little bit of frustration there because everybody who was parking here is now parking there. And it just gets messy. And I think we all should be proactive about it.
I think beginning today, we're gonna start announcing the official start date through our website, through our emails. Over the next couple days, we're gonna be finalizing the mailers that are going out and then begin those walk arounds next week as far as, you know, the parking discussion and then just the general pre-construction newsletter. And I guess, no parking limitations. We still have a little bit more time, thankfully. So from now until whenever this next stage starts, where the limitations begin, which would be, you know, mid to late April, we have some time to really start to provide those alternate areas. But that messaging really starts today.
Regarding the parking part and being conservative and being confident of that right now, I think it's hard to be, you know, subjective about the behaviors of things and like understanding like what those trickle down effects mean. Like your point of, you know, one block out, well, those people need to know, but you know, I mean, how far do we go to try to control some of that? I'm like structured like mentally to be a problem solver, and there are some problems that I'm not sure how to solve sometimes, even though, you know, I'm trying to, you know, go down different avenues.
I think it's just over communication. Like I think about the impact, my kids go to St. John's and I think about the impact of just driving to St. John's and parking there when everybody who was parking here is now parking there. And it changes.
For everybody too.
Yes, and I think the more we put out there, the better people can make decisions and they don't get frustrated and that's a routine. Like I don't have a choice but to come down there. But I don't want people coming to Carver Junk to feel that way. I want them to feel like they have the information and they're fairly prepared. So they feel like they can be flexible if something, as opposed to being presented with something that they were not expecting. And then they're frustrated, they're mad at Carver Junk and it's not Carver Junk's fault. And
yeah, that's the same feeling I think that Be Well is having, you know.
Well, the other solution there is signage during those phases that points to where parking is. So.
Do you guys have a plan for like a campaign around attending downtown businesses? There's a lot of marketing that's not just like, here's the road construction, but come visit our businesses.
Yeah, that's what we've been working on. We've got
I just haven't seen anything that's.
We haven't started it because until it's.
Yeah. So we'll have, I mean, when you think of business/community, we'll have the social piece for people who are engaged that way. And then we're doing a couple inserts into the Herald so that there's paper that shows current status. At this point, I had them tentatively planned for each month because things do seem to be fluid and changing. But it'll have the current parking, the current closed and access routes, the events that are happening so we can continue to drive people down here, and then any business specials for the month. So something for someone to hold and kind of see in addition to social, and then the bear and all the fun stuff that we'll try and bring up, the pop-up events and things once it's not snowing.
Yeah, and one thing we often run into is, you know, we send out a bunch of stuff, we feel like we're being proactive, and then we still invariably miss somebody, and then they're upset, and it's kind of like, well, did you get the mailing? Yeah, I threw it out. Well, it's like, I mean, it's available, but you can't make you read it. So it's that's for us to, I guess, manage, but you know, some understanding on that front too.
If the question, if stage 2A gets pushed back at all, does that push back to B or not? So that's going to start, that's planned to start like the second week of April, third week, you know, like right now. And so the third week of April. Okay.
Probably.
So the 2A on 40, I'm sorry, 2B on 41 cannot start until Walnut north-south is possible.
Say that again.
2B on 4. So essentially we need either 41 or Walnut open north-south.
Okay.
So if Walnut is closed, we are not doing 41. And then when 41 is closed, we have to have Pine and Walnut.
Okay.
Full stop.
And is there a temporary light going in at 4th and Pine?
Unsure. I think that's the part that we're looking at.
Okay, and
That's the Matt Podorowski idea, was that, you know, if we are really concerned about like about backups being too long, that's one of those behavioral things that we can react to. Yeah.
would that be something, I just, something where it would be at this stage, or would it be something at a different stage?
All any options are open on that.
On that.
I just am trying to know,
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
you know, just in general, I guess I don't know what best is, but
Mhm.
if you're trying to create behaviors, probably sooner than later, but
Mhm.
Feed, and to that point too, go ahead.
and if this is gonna be closed, there's no left, like, when does that hurt? Because that's right now in April. I mean, Michelle's booked, I mean, she's booked
Mhm.
out, whatever she needs to, you know, how do people, if they can't take a left there, you know, just, okay, you have to come this way. Just those types of things are really important for her people to know. And so that's,
And for Michelle specifically, I would reach out to Nicole and
okay,
Matt.
Yes,
okay.
for sure.
Like, we're very serious about that. And I think the light may change parking as well. So, I mean, there's a multifaceted approach for, like, you know, what all the things we need to look at. Obviously, safety being paramount, but access to businesses is extremely important too. It's all of those things kind of coming together.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if Michelle worked with you and had
Yeah.
something, because then she can easily just send it out to her
Mhm.
people. And so,
And being more comfortable about that will alleviate her stress too and make her more comfortable.
Yes.
can you just reach out to her on that? Okay, thank you.
Just to also clarify or maybe reiterate that the timelines we have on there are sort of the conservative timelines, right? They're rough timelines,
Yeah.
but I guess they skew towards more of the, this is, could
Yes.
go along, right? Okay, just want to make sure, because I think that one of the concerns that was raised from yesterday's meeting was like, you know, like the sheet piling was supposed to take 2 weeks, and it was 8. Like, if I knew it was gonna be 8, I would have done stuff differently, right? You know, and so like, when you just tell me it's gonna be 8, then if it's done early, it'll be a lot easier for me to handle than if it goes long. Now I'm scrambling in the back end because everything's just totally hosed, right? So I think from the business owner's perspective, like, you know, having that greater like runway is more helpful. They'd have prefer a worse, not worst case, but the not as good case. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Well, and
I mean,
that's
that's consistent.
contingency planning for sure. Yep, absolutely.
What's happening with it right now, by the way?
So the difference on that side, and when we meet with Dan next week specifically, is that on that side, we're a lot closer to the historic district, and there are some additional requirements for vibration monitoring and susceptibility analysis on that side that they weren't like fully prepared for, the contractor. So we kind of put the brace on them, like, have you really looked at all this stuff? Because your documentation doesn't show that you have. So they have some additional homework to do just to make sure that they're prepared from a risk management perspective. They are kind of in the mindset of, well, we can pound sheets, like it's physically possible to pound sheets right now, but you aren't prepared from a risk management perspective. If something goes wrong and we get insurance companies and lawyers involved, like that whole scenario, you guys are not prepared for. So that's why we pumped the brakes on that.
I will say that it was a lot smoother once they put the warming blankets out.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, no kidding.
And so if that's something that can be done to save,
Warming blankets?
yes, they.
We warmed up the
they
ground
were
ahead of it.
the ground, and it was so much noise,
Yep.
everything, the vibration in the building, all that kind of stuff
Well,
was.
there are big areas through where they're gonna do this that they've already dug down a ways, so that part of it will be easier, I
The
think.
last phase.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and technical stuff, that site is different, partially due to that. And then, you know, based on timing as well, maybe the frost will be completely up by the time we get started, but either way, we're planning on doing ground warmers again.
On the other flip side of that is they're very close to my building.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole site is pretty different.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things that also came up as a topic from yesterday too is that, you know, I was chatting with Greg about this, is that when there's delays, I think there's the frustration that people see, you know, I think this is what you're kind of alluding to, is that when people see that everything's stopped and they said, well, this is supposed to be done like next week, but then all the work was just stopped, but no one knows why. And they just make assumptions about it. All the assumptions are probably wrong because they have no idea what's actually happening. Could be some archaeological thing, could be like question the contractor and make sure things are prepared. It could be some technical issue, whatever it is, right? But the public doesn't know, and they'll just make assumptions or guesses about it. And so the thought was like, can we at least make sure that that gets out there sooner in some like way through social media or something, so at least that people have like a little more information of this is what's happening in a more timely manner, rather than just letting people guess and then trying to,
I feel like the weekly updates that you
Yeah.
provide are really good. I mean, if people aren't reading them because we can't get people to read these days, that's their, but I read them diligently. I send them out to I know they're either on those, but I send them out to my tenants
Mhm.
directly. And if they don't read it, I can't do anything about that. I mean, so I feel like those are really helpful when I look for them each week so that I know, and I send out something, or, if I have something, then I get proactive and contact you guys. So I think that I think they're really good. I think that if people aren't reading them, that's unfortunate.
I find,
Yeah.
so.
And once we get into more of the closure route, I usually add a section for like, here's what's closed, here's what's coming
Yeah.
up. So it's gonna really amp
Yeah.
up too, I think, in the usability.
No, yeah, so,
We have a lot of eyes on it too. Every week, we have, I don't know, 7 or 8 people on the list of, hey, does everybody agree that this is all completely accurate?
Mhm.
Because we can't afford
Including
to
the
put out
contractor.
something that's incorrect.
Well, I mean, that is the basis for what we communicate, whether
Yeah.
it's via email or on social, so.
Yeah.
Well, just that if like something happens, like, you send out their update and then it happens like the next day or two, then it's like, okay, well, now there's like 5 or 6 days or 7 days go by before you have something come back out again of what happened last week. Now it's.
And once we're in, I guess, active construction, we can send out corrections or updates like that. And that's typically what we tend to do. If there's something that comes up that we need to communicate immediately, we can do that right away.
That's through the email updates, like the ones you have to sign up for, not necessarily social media.
Yes. Yep.
I would say our our Walnut Street closure is something people will notice, but 41 or 61 closure is when the temperature goes up and people start to get excited. And I think we just need to collectively tell people to take a deep breath and we'll get through it. And yeah, so that's, I think, when we'll really start getting some serious pushback. So
I think generally though, too, that we've been reaching out a lot and talking to people. The open houses have been really beneficial. I feel like people, at least for me, I kind of got the general consensus that, look, like this is going to be a bit painful this year, but afterward, it'll be pretty nice. But the pain is real for sure. And, doing what we can now to mitigate that, or at least assist in, those concerns is the best we can do.
that's the seed we've been trying to plant all along, is that it would be really nice when it's done.
Do you feel like at the public open houses that mindset has shifted? Because I know on social, the mindset is very much like, we don't need a tunnel, we don't need connections, we
Yeah.
don't need 41, we don't need turn lanes. Like, did you feel like it's shifting, or is this still a PR campaign to get people to?
So I'm not on social. I don't participate because everybody's a keyboard warrior.
Oh,
I
engineer.
just,
Don't want to.
I have some opinions about that, but based on what I was hearing at the open house, and again, that's not the whole scene, that's not the whole picture, but based on what I was hearing, people are understanding that, well, the regional trail and with the trail coming up, it's kind of cool. We had a lot of positive comments. I don't know that I had a lot of like negative comments. I know I did receive negative comments before, so maybe that's an indication of some kind of shift. And I'm trying not to be biased. I'm trying to be perfectly impartial. I think generally it's more positive. Thoughts, Elise, too?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I will say, I forgot to mention this, we're creating 3 social media promo videos, like quick 30-second, like, here's what the Paseo is, showing the renderings, and here's, what the roadway is going to be like. So those are almost done, and we're going to start sharing those to help bolster, I guess, like what this will look like, some of the improvements, so people can have some positive, I guess, features to look forward
Yeah,
to.
and we had discussions yesterday because I was at the technical table talking nerd stuff, but I had a bunch of questions up. Have you even thought of a bridge? And I said, well, we kind of talked through, well, if we have to be 17.6 over 41, so that's 17 feet 6 inches high, plus the actual bridge height. And then is that really like the look and feel that the city would want? And then not only that, but then to get from 17.6 down to Pine on that corner, is that ADA compliant anymore? Like there are technical issues here that we've thought about, and we kind of illustrate that many of those things are not possible.
I think that's what I've seen in, open houses and just talking to people, at different events. It's like, they don't know what's going on, so they come ask and they get those questions answered and understand why it's being done this way. I mean, I think what you're seeing on social is they just don't understand and they don't ask questions why, and it just.
And they're not reading their emails.
They're not
Those are the
reading their
uninformed
emails.
ones that just have an opinion.
So
about-
I take everything that's on social media with a grain of salt. I mean, we look at it and see, and if they're like, if it's on city social media, I know Kevin takes a look at it. And if he's able to provide some information to educate, he certainly does that. But we're not here to, continue that hype. So.
The 3 videos you did at the
Yes.
sale, what are the?
Paseo, just a general construction's coming.
Okay.
And then roadway improvement. So like just showing renderings of what the road will look like as well. So it's just like 30 seconds, this is happening, showing some pictures as it's talking.
And will those 2 videos kind of cover why 41 was designed that way? Because I know that's one of the big questions that is
I
out
don't
there.
think so.
Okay.
The intent of them was to be just shorter snippets to drive people to the website to learn more. But to that point, we could have more, I guess, like FAQ information available right away on the website, so people don't have to dig to find it. So maybe that's.
That was one comment I was gonna actually have for you, as I was looking on the website to go and actually be able to find the plans, you have to search a little bit for that. So I think if we're driving people to the website with those videos, having all the information kind of on the front page is right there. They don't have to go dig for it. Some of those FAQs, I think that would be.
Yeah, to that point, maybe we do develop an updated FAQ that's like front, top of mind on one of the pages to say, why is it this configuration? Why is it a tunnel? And just kind of refresh with what we've been hearing the past couple months.
Is there another city that has like a comparable road where it's 1 lane with the turn lanes and that I could drive my car to and make a video about how, like, that's what I'm thinking. Is there somewhere that I'm literally willing to do it? True, I was literally just in Hutchinson getting my hair done too. That's a good one.
They just did it, it was
Yeah.
2020, but I know my parents have a business on Main Street.
Yeah,
and
so does my family.
yeah, so it's exactly what has happened there. They changed it to the train lanes.
Sounds like I need to go to the salon.
It's probably like the same.
A better video might be waiting to go straight when everyone in front of you is trying to turn.
Yeah, that too. That's, and I always.
Just go north on 41 and you can
Yeah.
take that video any day of the week. So
Just the state of the infrastructure it's potholes, it's.
Yeah, and I think like people acknowledge that they're really concerned about flow, but I think, even last night we talked about it where, well, I'm really concerned about flow because when somebody's trying to turn left, it's like, well, let me stop you there. When we have turn lanes, you won't have that issue anymore. So it's like, oh, you're right. Okay, so maybe that will work. So, I mean, I think that understanding is just going to take a little bit of time and persistence.
I think the biggest thing is when everybody asks about it and I say, well, it's got 1900 storm sewer and pipe and whatever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really more about that even than it is
Mhm.
about the road. So I
Mhm.
think that's,
And sanitary water main that the public works is chomping at
So,
the bit to
I
take
mean,
care of.
that's something where people are like, oh, yeah, they got to dig it up anyway.
Mhm.
So the road's getting dug.
And when you put it all together, it's a whole lot of stuff that just needs to be done, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, it's just kind of, that's the one thing, and then everybody just stops talking. And we're like, well,
Yeah.
the pipes are like from the 1900s.
Mhm.
100
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even matter what else it's gonna be like. It's just, that needs to be done.
So I think it might make sense then, like our weekly video updates were more about like what's happening now, but
Mhm.
maybe then we tie in a nugget like that.
Like
each time.
FAQ piece weekly, if once I develop it, maybe then you
I
can use
just use
that
that
to.
as kind of a script that we weave into,
Mhm.
hey, here's what we're doing this week because we had to do this type of thing.
Mhm.
Some of those, like, I think we tie them into a little bit of the Chaska history and the fun facts and make it interesting for people. I think people are like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I didn't know about that, right?
Mhm.
So, you can tie in some of those like little like fun nuggets and make it entertaining. I think that'll help
Mhm.
your take rate too.
Yeah, I should look into as well, when we did years ago on 61, we had a construction camera that was like live that you could like look
That
at
would
on the
be-
website.
That would,
Yeah, when they did that roundabout,
Yeah.
too, they did that. Was
Instead of
really
watching
cool.
eagles.
Yes, exactly. Much more fun.
Actually does
Time lapse, yeah.
Yeah, we did a time lapse for Jonathan Carver Parkway too, where each week when the roundabout was being built, you could kind of see week by week. And at the end, we just did a GIF almost to watch it being built. So we could do something like that
I
too.
think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
That would be,
That was done on the Engler roundabout too.
Mhm.
The alignment, yeah, that was actually really cool.
that would be really cool for 41.
Like the idea of it, the logistics going on in my head are.
Oh, you and your logistics.
I'll duct tape my phone on a light.
Yeah, it's
bulb.
fine.
Logistics.
I mean, I think it's an idea. I mean, we'll have to involve MinDOT and stuff, but yeah.
I
What
want
they don't know.
Yeah.
won't hurt them.
They have cameras everywhere. You can see, I mean,
Yeah.
they have cameras already. You can check the traffic everywhere. you know,
Yeah.
Like,
A lot of stakeholders though. I mean,
We did it on
everybody's,
61
everybody's got
in
a,
Chaska.
sure.
Dan will put it on his building.
That's fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
Check in
I don't
from
know how they
South
do that.
America, see how you guys are doing.
Right?
Yeah.
Wave at you.
Yeah. Yeah. How are things going at my property?
You might wanna also check the Chaska History Center is a really cool shots in place, and you've seen it too, Michaela. It's from like, I know, about 100 years ago, where like there's like a big banner sign that was like
Oh.
built right on 40, it was, I guess, going on Walnut going south. And so it's kind of cool, we kind of like overlay, those
Yeah.
starting point, right? And to find a few of those photos from
history,
history
looking
photos
back.
leading up to today, and
That would be really cool.
like going to the future. So-
Photoshop our little bear into that old.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love
I'll
that
start an
idea.
email with her and
Mhm.
she can share pictures that we
Yeah.
can use, and then obviously their Facebook every couple days does a Chaska history nugget,
Mhm.
but we can probably use some of those and sprinkle them in
Yeah,
too.
I like
just to-
that.
One of the discussions we had during the open house several times was, well, we really like what we did on 61. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, we're kind of continuing that look and feel for 41 and then kind of 61 kind of heading north. And, we're adding trees, we're adding the chest of brick. So that whole look and feel thing. And people were generally like, I didn't know that. That sounds great. So I think like just more information, just, being sent out like crazy all the time, making it as available as possible is, just the best we can do with that. Well, I think there are still things that people don't fully realize, and I think people showing up to the open house understood, and I think that's probably just par for the course. We're not going to be able to get to literally every single person, but as long as it's as available as possible, that's the best.
There's always going to be people who, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, are just going to be just just negative about it because they just don't want change, or we already know that there's like some people who are like on social media who criticize stuff and don't even live here, right? And just say whatever you do is wrong, right? Or for whatever reason. So I mean, but I think there's still a message out there to reach as many as we can, and in good faith that we're doing the right thing for the community, and we'll get through this together.
Well, and one other thing as well is if you hear some like rumor about something, just pump the brakes. Are we sure about that? Because this official source that we have, or if we need to verify something, let's verify it for sure.
Well, my favorite quote so far on Facebook is someone put up, literally everyone I know agrees with me that this is stupid. Literally, everyone I know.
Literally.
So, that's
Oh,
my
I
favorite
must
so
not
far.
get out
but-
much.
Yeah.
Love people.
The 3 people to that person. I'd like to interview that person after we're done with the project.
Yeah.
Think about it then, or in
Don't wanna
like 3
see-
years.
I was in the tunnel in the Paseo.
Yeah.
I also had some candid conversations about, it's a pretty thankless business. People are either upset or accepting. There's never much.
Yeah, nobody's thrilled, yeah.
Not like that. Great work. Like, that doesn't happen that often.
Jody just shared that the Chaska Library turns 100 this year.
Oh,
That's
Wow.
Are they having a party?
Well, yeah, no definite plans right now. I'm meeting with our friends of the library group tomorrow. And a couple things we'll be talking about. Of course, you probably all are familiar with their big River City Days book sale they typically do. So they're a little nervous about whether that should move forward or not, but they're going to be talking about that tomorrow, and then whether we can tie in a celebration with that or something early fall. So we definitely want to celebrate, and thinking about in the library space itself, if there's some fun, kind of smaller things we can do. One of our staff members said, let's do something for 100 days, something small, like every day for 100 days. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that. But we've got some really cool
100 minutes.
storyboards
Yeah.
that I
Kinda
think
like
the
the little
Chaska
bit more.
History Center had made for another milestone for the library. So we definitely want to incorporate some of what the Chaska History Center has as well. So I'll keep you all posted.
Quick question for you. So where was the Chaska Library located before it was in the City Hall building?
It was in the Klein Mansion at one point. And then originally, like in 1923, there was a room rented in is it the Park City School, something? I was just reading through some of the history yesterday. So.
I think we haven't talked at all because we haven't even started construction yet, but our goal is to do something at the end of construction.
Yeah.
So that we could definitely tie the 100-year anniversary
Yeah.
into that, and it could be a multi-celebration. Well, yeah, something like that.
Multi.
Sounded right.
I think it's right.
That is.
Okay, so from a timing perspective, then it sounds like if we dropped our first Herald insert the first or second week of April, which means we have to have content done the end of, so that's where printing gets a little tricky.
Yeah, we have a schedule for our stuff as well, whereas timing matters a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe the first one doesn't have anything about the closed and access pieces. Maybe it's just more about parking downtown, like knowing construction is starting and giving some of the dates and then saying, this is where you're going to park.
Yeah.
And then maybe the second one is where we start to show people how to really get around as summer events start to kick in. Because that's only April. They're really, I mean, other than Easter and the rabbit at the park, there isn't a whole lot happening in April down here. So that could work.
It gets people thinking about where am I gonna park when I get down there
Yeah.
and knowing all those places, so.
Is the auxiliary moving the egg hunt? Does anyone know?
I don't think they need to, do they?
What, it's usually in the park?
Usually in the
They're
park.
saying no events in the park at all this year,
But even in
It
April?
would be April 9th. Okay.
even in April.
Somebody should tell them that. If I didn't beef with them, I would.
Or maybe we forget to tell them and they just do it anyway.
If they weren't,
I guess they can go to Fireman's Park.
Well, if we can get them to Fireman's Park, that would be, because like, we've told other groups no. And so I think. we
Yeah.
need
Should I
to-
send them an email?
Yeah, you can,
I'll do one thing as junior vice president this year, I guess. Junior past president, that's what I am.
All right, so we covered meeting feedback, general feedback, updates on parking, updates on timing. Anything else from you all's end?
Is there anything you're noticing that we could be doing more of? Because like I said, we're, socials, the email, we're gonna be doing the mailings. I haven't maybe talked to you about this, Bob, but I think before a stage change, we could also consider maybe doing a mailing just to reach folks who might not be involved via email or the website. Are there other avenues that you could see us using?
So we talked about this a while ago, and maybe it's in the plans and we just haven't covered it, but we talked about doing some bigger signs at some of the other locations, like the community center, places people are going. I mean, Target, if they would let, like any of that kind of stuff. I mean, if you walk into Cooper's or Target or Cub and there's a big,
Board.
yep.
Yeah.
I know our event center is asked to have the information.
Yeah,
Because people are asking.
because I think there's people who are on social or people who open the mail whether or not they read it, we don't know, but at least if we have something visual as they're
Where
walking.
they're going.
Yes,
Mhm.
that might be helpful, especially because we have Northern 41 too.
Yeah, so that's exactly where I was thinking. It seems like it's probably more of a comprehensive. We
Yeah.
need to take a look at it. So let me get together. I think that's a great idea. I'm gonna write it down, how we can get some of this in that it's more than just downtown. Because I think
Yeah.
from a city perspective, we have to make it more than downtown.
Absolutely.
We've done 11 by 17 just printable signs for business windows in the downtown area before. So maybe that's something we could have as a resource on the website for folks if they want to print, or if they would like us to print a copy for them to stick in their window. That's an option as well.
Yeah, I think we should do that too.
Okay.
I think the more, I mean, your offer to give them the personalized
Mhm.
maps, I think is huge. But yeah, anything that we can give them that,
Mhm.
If I would just add, if there's something that we can have in the library lobby, we'd be glad to do that too, if that's helpful. As another spot where people are going.
Jody, is it helpful for the broader what's going on in Chaska construction, not just the downtown construction?
Yeah, I would say broader because we're pulling people in, obviously from other parts of the community and then also like from neighboring Carver as well. So I think it would be just good. Good to have that broader perspective. And Elise and I can talk about that too,
Are there different websites for those other segments as well? I'm picturing like a map of like 41 and you could call out like, this is the southern portion and then it's like our website and then it's this middle one. I don't know if that gets confusing for people, but just some basic info on timing and then website.
That's something you need help
Yeah,
with.
well, so this is an idea that's just kind of morphed in the past couple of days.
Yeah.
So when Kevin gets back.
Yeah.
So, but I will reach out though, because, we have, Stephanie Roth from HDR that's working up north and, Mark Olson from MnDOT. And so we've kind of talked about this with them too. So it's could be a conglomeration of us all.
and is everything happening at once? I don't know that I understood that. I mean, I know this is happening all summer, but like the Bavaria.
The Bavaria Pioneer is
Like it's all gonna be at some point.
The overlap.
May to August. May to August.
So 10's not happening this year,
And
10 is just a study.
planning, but the PV, which is probably the biggest impact
And
for this situation.
the resurfacing is going to be pretty significant because a lot of like, it could be down to like one lane, that sort of thing, or, it could be
82nd.
up to 82nd. Yeah. It's like, because they're going to be, it'll go
Yeah.
quick. Yeah. That'll be the fastest one. It's the 90-day closure PV. That's both the most impactful and longest. So
People are just gonna be at the lake anyway. They're sick of this winter.
Yeah. Right.
Start
That's
getting
so
out.
true.
Everybody's gotten so busy again. I mean, really back to post COVID
Mhm.
times. And so, I mean, that's why people aren't reading any of these things either, because they're out there, but they don't have time.
Mhm.
I mean, everything that we're going through in different situations, and that's what I'm finding. It's just, why don't I know this? Well, because you don't have as much time as you used to.
Mhm. Mhm.
On the road. Any other new business or?
No, everything is road construction.
Okay, all right. Next meeting date, we're looking at mid-April.
I know we've been out of country. Right
All right then, beautiful. So we're,
here at the bottom,
Yeah.
all the dates, all here.
Yeah.
would this group be willing to entertain it's like another time, just like to experiment with another time, or maybe, I don't know, maybe not another time, or just an additional time for like the road construction piece for those other business members who probably couldn't have attended this time. Just throwing it out there because we don't, outside of from the library, there's no one else from any other businesses here. And the intent was to have other businesses in this
Yeah, I
meeting.
mean, I don't know what the story is with with like Steve and And then, I mean, Steve is always busy. It doesn't really matter, but he figures out how to get somebody here or not.
No, I remember when Second Street was being rebuilt. It's when the barricades went up that the
Mhm.
interest went up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that- Maybe we try to do something to correspond with that.
I mean, is noonish, you know, I mean, it's so hard because, okay, you know, all the restaurants like, yeah, noon, great.
Yeah.
But we don't have people with, I mean, the restaurant people are not, they don't show up here
Mhm.
anyway. Let's just be real. So. I
Perhaps
mean,
we
maybe-
wait until the closure begins and see if we get some more and then maybe
Yeah.
look at adding.
But then that feels just really reactive. Then people are really mad about it. It should be like get something in the calendar, before that, so that,
Have we heard that people can't make it at this time?
yeah, that's why.
Who's saying that to you?
It was like both, was it the Michelle from Be Well and there's the owner of the smoothie, Kristen.
Revive.
Katie.
Yeah, Revive Nutrition, yeah, Katie. Those are the ones I talked
They give
to.
you times that would work better.
Yeah, Katie said late afternoon works better for her. But of course, that's because most of her business is morning, afternoon, or morning and lunch hour.
Well, it would seem like a 3 o'clock is kind of a good time when people can get in and out. Because you're at the end of your workday, it's
Not at a meal.
quiet at, restaurants, it's where, and so maybe we try something like that. I don't know. I mean, the shift work is always hard, but is that available here? That type of thing too.
Well, I think we
Friday
definitely,
afternoons are pretty easy here.
Well, I think Friday afternoon, well,
People
that's
are
the
also all
other
the
thing.
Dodge at that point.
Friday afternoon on a,
Summer.
is
Yeah.
not, that's not gonna
Showing
work.
up.
I'm talking about during the week
Like
someday,
Wednesdays?
because nobody's gonna show up here at Friday, including me.
At 3.
I think we keep, because we publish these dates and times, I'm not gonna move away from those. But I'm willing, if we think that there is a need, to add an extra 30-minute, 60-minute session. And maybe we just try it once and
See if we get people to
if
show up.
anybody shows up.
And just because it was like Kristen over from the blend place, and also Michelle asked for it, just to reach out to them and say, hey, we're scheduling this to try to accommodate your schedules too. So,
Are there any more open houses scheduled over the next 2 months?
I do feel
Okay.
like that's probably why we didn't have any businesses here today. Like there was a lot of information given in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey,
When I say hi, it's
You guys,
Nate's still here.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
missed this group, I know it.
Reveal, dust myself off and reveal my face. I'm changing it.
Stress is not getting to
Do you know
you.
what I learned yesterday? Michaela.
Oh, goodness.
is a top-notch cook. Did anybody know that?
No.
That's a problem, isn't it?
No, thanks, Nate. I'm gonna have to bring cookies here now.
Yeah.
Just sharing great information. Come on.
Thanks.
Well, I think it would not be a bad thing when we start having road closures, I think especially beyond Walnut here, that we have a road construction update meeting and 3 o'clock on a Thursday or a Wednesday and just see who we get. And
To give you some context, we're recording all of these meetings and putting them out there. We had 39 watches of our last meeting. Which is an hour and 41 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah, so if they're not coming, someone out there is at least watching us
Yeah.
talk.
Okay,
I watched it 35 times.
Yeah, I'll admit it.
well, since these,
Doing
I mean,
things.
Michelle is in direct contact with Greg a lot.
Yeah.
And, so, but maybe Greg can reach out to Katie.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the other, instead of changing everybody else's, maybe we reach out to her in a different way.
I think the reason why I put it out there, I think we put it out there is because they specifically asked for it, right? Because I think that the watches were helpful because they both acknowledged they're out there, but you can't have a dialogue with YouTube, right? And that's the challenge. They couldn't ask. for
Yes, so
questions, so
Greg just has a conversation with her, or we reach out to her. I mean, that's the other part of it. I mean,
Well, I'll definitely reach
ask
out
the questions.
to her because she's someone who has not ever responded to an email or been a part of any of the other stuff that we're doing. And if it's because she doesn't feel like it's an engaging way to do it, then we'll meet her halfway. like I'll stop in once a month and see what she's got. Okay, I think.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chaska Library.
Thank you all.
Thanks for letting us join this morning.